President Biden made that surprise and historic visit to Kyiv, Ukraine, just days before the first anniversary of Russia's invasion.
And meeting with Ukrainian President Zelensky and vowed unwavering and unflagging support in the country's ongoing war. And here to discuss from Warsaw, Poland, is National Security Council spokesperson Admiral John Kirby. John, good to see you, and thanks for being with us today.
Thanks for having me.
All right, John, President Zelensky says this trip leaves Ukraine closer to victory. What did the U.S. hope to accomplish from this visit, and how successful do you believe it was?
This was an important trip and an important time for President Biden to be able to go in the midst of a war in Ukraine, to go to Kyiv, to stand side by side with President Zelensky, and then to come here to Warsaw. And he met with President Duda just a little bit ago, and he'll be giving a speech here just a little bit from now. This trip is important because it really is meant to help galvanize the world to continue to support Ukraine as we now head into, sadly, a second year. Now, hopefully it won't last all that long, but it's hard to believe that it's been a year of war. The Ukrainian people have really responded with grit and determination. You'll hear the president make the case that that support has been critical, not just from the United States, but from around the world, certainly here in Poland. The Poles have been very generous, and that support is really going to be required going forward.
And John, we've heard from the administration that the president's trip was a calculated risk. Now, the White House reportedly informed Russia of President Biden's visit in advance for what's been described as deconfliction purposes. How did the Kremlin respond to that heads up?
Well, I don't want to get into the content of diplomatic conversations, but you're right. It was a notification that was done not too long in advance of the president's moving into Kyiv, but long enough so that they had a heads up that he was actually going that way. And it was the right thing to do, the prudent thing to do, because as you noted, this was not a trip without risk. I mean, Kyiv continues to be under attack by the Russian military from cruise missiles and from Iranian drones. It was important to make sure that we deconflicted as best we could with the Russians.
John, the president met with President Zelensky for what he called an extended discussion on our support for Ukraine. How fruitful were these talks, and what was discussed?
They talked about the whole range of support that Ukraine has had and has enjoyed and has actually been very grateful for. And we've evolved that support as the war has changed over the last 12 months. And they did talk about the kinds of capabilities that Ukraine's going to need in the weeks and months ahead. And of course, the president made it clear, in fact, he said it publicly, that the United States is going to make another announcement here of about a $500 million, $500 million worth of more security assistance and weapons, including air defense capabilities, more armored vehicles, and that support will continue in the weeks and months ahead.
And John, we've seen support for this war in Ukraine waver here amongst the American public. Now, during this visit, President Biden announced $500 million in additional military aid for Ukraine. And this comes as some Republicans have called for a timeline to end U.S. aid in the war. Before that additional support is provided, what is your response to them?
Well, look, this is a small number of Republicans, largely in the House, that have expressed their concerns about Ukrainian aid. They are not represented by both parties in a macro way at all. In fact, if you listen to the House leadership, Speaker McCarthy and Chairman McCall, they'll all tell you that they want to continue to see this support go into Ukraine. And so we've enjoyed both bicameral and bipartisan support for Ukraine. And the president's expectation, based on his conversations with members of Congress, is that support's going to continue. And more critically, the American people, they understand what's at stake here. They know that the Ukrainians are not just fighting for their independence, they're fighting for their very lives, and that they continue to want to support Ukraine as well.
National Security Council spokesperson Admiral John Kirby, thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it. We'll let you get back to the festivities there. We heard they were playing Beyonce earlier.
There's a lot of music right now. Yes, ma'am.
Going on. Thanks so much, John.
Yeah, Beyonce is loved everywhere around the world. And this programming note right here, be sure to tune in tonight. World News Tonight anchor David Muir will be reporting live from Poland with team coverage of all the major developments.
Well, hey there, GMA fans. Robin Roberts here. Thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Lots of great stuff here. So go on, click the subscribe button right over here to get more of awesome videos and content from GMA every day, anytime. We thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the morning on GMA.